So today is the 13th of May, so we're in mid-May. And because this is a greenhouse, we've had quite a lot of warmth. And in the space of the last 2 months, most of the shoots have grown about 60 centimeters long. It's almost incredible. If I show it to you, you may not even believe how big they've grown. So it's time I prune them. These were air layerings, so these have to be pruned hard. There is a time and place to prune everything because we don't keep pruning them whenever the shoots start coming up. So let's take a few trees and I will show you what I'm going to do. This is our maple pruning time. So these maples have had 2 months of growth, and in 2 months they've grown so long. For instance, look at this one. This one is growing in a tray of moss. The roots have come through, grass as well has come through, and all these long shoots, more than 1 meter long, have all grown in the last 2 months. So I must be doing something right. But I can't keep letting them grow endlessly, because if I keep letting it grow too big, they become big trees again, but I want to make them into bonsai. I've been growing in these pots because I wanted to strengthen the tree. So I'm now going to show you what I'm going to do with 4 of these examples. So I have 5 maples to show you. I know a lot of you say that you like what I do with maples, and because maples are my favorite tree, I will just show you how I go about pruning some of these trees. So as I said, all this 1 meter growth has taken place in the last couple of months. So I'm not going to let them grow endlessly. And the reason why I let them grow tall is to strengthen the tree. Strengthening the tree is very important. This tree is being grown as a twin trunk style, and some of the lower branches have died, but I'm not worried about it. So the purpose of growing all these long shoots, as I said, is to simply make the tree strong. But once it is strong enough, I will then bring it back to its potential bonsai shape. Every tree has a potential front and a potential back. It's important to find out which is which at this stage. And I'm now simply taking off all the little dead twigs. The main thing is in the trunk and the nebari and the base, which, as you can clearly see, is very nice, but we don't need all that. The pruning, of course, is very easy. So let's see what we do. Okay, let's shorten them. It's simply a question of shortening it. Nothing more complicated than that. And if I did have the time, space, and patience, and the staff, each of these can be made into little cuttings, and I can propagate thousands of maples from this. But I'm not in the business of doing that today. We do propagate from cuttings, but we are making a bonsai in this video, or refining the bonsai. So this tree is quite old. I would say at least 15, 20 years or maybe more. The base is very nice, and it's being developed into a twin trunk. So now that the tree has been strengthened by those long growths, I'm now concentrating on making the ramification and improving the branch structure. So with a lot of these deciduous trees, it seems a shame to be growing it all and then having to cut it off. But that is the nature of the game. That is what bonsai is all about. We're growing the trunk thick and then producing the branches. We don't try to produce the branches right from the very start. We always develop the trunk and then we go about producing the branches. When the trunk has reached its requisite stage, we then produce the ramification or the fine branches. So I don't need it that long. It seems ridiculous, isn't it? Growing all that stuff and then cutting everything off. People must think I'm crazy. But this is how we go about producing our bonsai. As I say, it seems a shame to waste all that, but that is what it involves. And now when you realize what a lot of work goes into growing it all, cutting it back and then producing the ramification, now you realize why bonsai is such a long game, long time scale, and as I always say, it's a mug's game. That means you spend so much time growing everything, cutting it off and starting again. But if you want fine bonsai, this is what we have to do. So you can see the potential of this tree. I'm just cutting all the snags. I will seal them with a sealant, and then the structure will come here, and I'm going to produce the cone shape like that. Don't worry about the grass. Our soil is so rich that even the grass grows strong here. So that is that one done. So let's go to and see. That's all we're cutting off. Look at all that we've cut. All that stuff we've cut off just to get to that stage. Okay, let's look at the next one. Unfortunately, if you want to grow maples well and produce nice ramification, this is what you've got to do. Now, you see in this one, I put some wire around to make the branches go horizontal. But we try not to leave the wire on more than necessary because it does mark. But it's done its job. You can see that the branches are horizontal there. Now, this one has had a fair bit of training since last year, and the ramification is already well on its way. So, this is not such a difficult tree because we've already done a lot of work last year, but there's still a lot of work to do. Here and there, I put a piece of wire to make the branches grow horizontally. There's another piece of wire I'm removing. This was applied only last year. It's done its job, so I can remove the wire. So I do wire some of my maples, but not a lot. See, if you leave the branches to grow too long, you get these leaves dying back, which are on the inside because it doesn't get light. So light is very important. If you don't let light in, then the twigs will die. Okay, so this one's got a lot of branches. This one is going too high, so I take this off. If there are too many branches, as I say, it excludes the light. I try to let the branches grow horizontal if I can. And this one, let me see which is the front. I think the other side may be better as a front. Possibly this side. I don't need too many leaders there. So I'm still structuring the tree. Inward growing branches I remove. See how I've thinned the tree? It's like a triple leader, but it doesn't matter because the tree itself looks quite pleasing. So this is almost ready. I will just let all the new twigs grow, and this will be almost ready to sell. So that is that one done. You notice we are very fond of using these baskets. They're not really pots, they're just baskets, and you see how the roots come through the drainage holes. And because I grow it on gravel, they grow straight into the gravel, and you see how strong the roots are. So if you want to develop a tree strongly, I suggest you grow it on a bed of gravel, keep it well watered, and that will produce a lot of vigor in the trees. These are some of the tricks that I've developed over the years. Not everyone may do it the way I do, but as I say, if it works for me, then I'm quite happy to share that knowledge with you. I'm sure other maple growers will have different ideas how to grow them. Of course, I always envy the Japanese because in Japan they have this rainy season and their summers are warmer and wetter and you get enormous growth in the year. We don't get that much growth when maples are grown in the open, except that if you grow it in the open ground, you get more growth. This is a Benichidori, which was wired into an S shape. So that S shape is quite pleasing. I've got to determine which is the front, which is the back. Maybe this would be better as a front. And then these I can put some wire on to get it horizontal. If you come closer, you will see that I have already put wire here and there. You see, I put wire on this to get the branches horizontal. So I do apply wire, although as I've always said, I don't often wire maples, but sometimes you have to do a bit of wiring. Otherwise the branches spring straight up. Now here, this is the leader, this is not the leader, so I need to decide what to do with this. I always say that as long as you create that conical shape, you can't go far wrong. Just make sure that you don't have too many thick branches. You see, these are thick branches, and that's not going to be good for the tree. You might get too much inverse taper at the top. It's different if you were producing a new leader there, but if it's not for producing a new leader, then don't let too many grow there. Again here, there's two there, see 1 and 2. That's far too many. I'm going to have to decide which one to take off. Now this is the back of the tree, so the front is this way. Some of my Benichidoris which are growing in the open haven't yet come into leaf, whereas this one has come into leaf 2 months ago, so the pink color has gone and it's turned green. So I can still see I'm stuck with a choice of 2. I'm going to have to reluctantly remove one of them. Still can't decide which one. I can even take this one. As we say, bite the bullet. I'll let that grow to pull the leader up. So this tree is by no means complete. It's not at its complete state. So this normally should be trimmed like that, but I'm letting that grow more. If you don't want lumpy growth, see these little lumps and nodules, if you don't prune it flush, you get this bulging. So like here, if I didn't prune that flush, it bulges. It's like when you prune these plane trees in London, you get these little knobbly bits which are attractive in their own way, but you don't want too much of it in bonsai. You want it more flush. So I'm going to seal that. See how knobbly that becomes. That really is not very good because it'll become a huge lump. So I have to pare away at this. I may need to use a saw on that. So that is not good. So you have to taper that. So I won't waste your time showing you how to saw that, but that is what we would normally do. And then these thick branches, if I want it level or horizontal, I will have to apply a very thick piece of wire. Let me just do it and show you what I do. So I'm using 5mm wire because that branch there is very, very thick. But although I'm using 5mm wire, I'm not going to bind it tight. It's only just going to be wrapped very loosely around that branch, just to guide it down a little bit. I'm going to go around the trunk to give it stability. And I'm going to just provide what is called an open coil. Some people try to use guy wires. I have, I think, said before that I don't like the use of guy wires. you can't control the direction. You can pull it down, but you can't control the direction in which it goes. Now, once it's on, you've got to support it with two hands, because if you try and do it with one hand, you might snap it. Maples are very, very brittle branches. The branches are highly brittle, so be careful how you are. So I've got that horizontal there. So that's not meant to be exhibition wiring. We're not doing an exhibition, we're just training the tree. And then this one I can take down a little bit. So I've got those branches going down like that. These I will keep on because I still want it to be horizontal. This one I'm not going to prune back because I want it to strengthen. So I'm just going to let it grow unchecked. By growing it unchecked, I will get a very thick, strong branch very quickly. So Nibari is not bad. So this is quite a nice front. So the structure of that tree is nice. So in the middle of the growth in the spring and summer, we have to keep controlling this. Now let's look at this one. This is another of those multi-trunk trees. This one has got 4 trunks. I don't know why. One may have died. But again, I'm regrowing it. And unfortunately, the central tree has died on this. Things like this do happen. You know, with the best will in the world, you can't always guarantee that they stay perfect the whole time of its life as a bonsai. Pity about that, because the rest of the tree is very good. All these long shoots we don't need. All these long shoots we don't need. This is just to strengthen that part of the tree. And if I were to be fussy, I could even take the central one out and make it a triple trunk tree. That might well happen in the future. You never know. This is far too long. Let's cut it back to there. So this one is dead up to there. I may get a new leader. If I just grow it strongly, I will probably be able to produce this new leader. So let's get that off. That top has died. I will seal all of them, because if I don't seal it, you may get dieback going further back into the trunk. So hopefully I can produce a new leader from there. In fact, I will. It's quite nice as a spreading tree. Even if I grow a short top like that, that would be nice. So this tree has a charm of its own. Very charming little tree. We'll do the weeding. So that is that one done. And one more to show you. As you can see, the grass is so vigorous. Really healthy trees. Okay, now this is one of our field-grown trees, and at some stage we put it in a training pot, and this is the process of producing the ramification. But you mustn't let these shoots grow too long and too vigorous, otherwise they become new leaders in their own right, and then you'll be confused because there are so many choices of possible leaders that you won't know which one to choose. So we got to now determine which we make as the front, which we make as the back of the tree. Let's get all these long shoots off. So it was topped at one stage, and lots of new leaders have grown. There's a very thick branch there which is spoiling the trunk line. It's too thick. Can you imagine? Look at taking all that off. Taking all that off. But you can see why. This is going to be the leader, or this can be the leader that way. So there are lots of possibilities. At least growing it strong gives you the option to do various things. Lots of options. Even that back one is interesting. We might even change the front slightly in future, you never know. This could be the front in future. So I will just keep an eye on the ramification. And see, these sort of roots not everyone likes, but some people like it, so I will leave it. And you could get a tree with this as a possible front for the future, with that line, and then take it up to there. So there's so many options for this tree. So lots of possibilities. So this is just to show you, we don't let these things grow unchecked. At some stage you've got to deal with them. Otherwise they become garden trees again. So I hope you've enjoyed this very brief exercise. Now look at this big greenhouse there with all those maples. I've got to deal with all those maples in the next couple of weeks. So there's my work cut out.